Yo, guys. So I was asked to make a Thunder review on Van Curripula and then talk about the third player to add in there. So again, just be aware I'm not the most knowledgeable about Thunder, so I'm just going to try to give some advice based on what I've seen in League and what would logically be the best. So let's start talking about Van. First of all, his main position is front left. I mean, worst case, you can move it, depends what he's shooting on. Especially if he's facing an Alios, you will move him because of how his skill works. Stat-wise, pretty straightforward. He's a striker, best strat is power. Skill-wise, decreasing inflicted damage for Thunder players by 20%. This is actually pretty powerful in Ace Burst. I know that Thunder also kind of likes the penetration ace of Guinevere, but if you don't want to run a Guinevere in front line with him, this is also a pretty interesting ace. Because especially if you're not running Glade, Thunder kind of has a lot of issues in back line. Now, active. Increase critical rate by 25%, critical damage by 20%, accumulates up to 5 times. Well, Thunder's biggest weakness is Wormwind and they have Alios, so it means you're going to get countered even harder, but except for Alios, this is actually pretty good. And this is going to be stacking with his following skill, who when combined, really makes him shine as one of the most utility strikers in my opinion. Okay, maybe Vonchi is just a little bit more, but it's around the same level. Increase the attack power by 25% and critical damage by 20%, 25% of allies within the position for 10 minutes with a shot accumulates up to 3 times. So basically, this means that if he's combining his active and this passive, this can stack 5 times. So he's able to get a critical rate of, how much is this, times 5, 125%, critical damage of 100%, another 75% critical damage, and a 75% attack power. So he's really going to get a huge advantage of the fact of shooting multiple times. Now, the only issue with this is his following skills, but they're also going to help him shoot. Accelerate time, recovers the action bar by 50% every 2 minutes. Pretty good to stack these because, again, this is 10 minutes. So ideally, you should be able to shoot 3 times in like 6-7 minutes to be sure to always have them up. With an extra action bar recovery and basic speed of a 7-star, he really shouldn't have any issues. On top of it, if you combine this with Luca's speed up and speed down, there's going to be some pretty good swag in there. Then this is honestly what I consider the one issue with his skill is this one skill, increase critical rate and reflex by 30%. Now this is honestly kind of a bad skill. If this was penetration, it would have been perfect. So yeah, this is pretty much a problem. He's got some good crit rate, some good critical damage, some attack power, critical damage. If you stone him correctly, you should be able to do some pretty decent stuff. But again, it's all going to really come down to the subs on your stones. So this is one thing you're going to want to be careful. And his utility, who's something you usually try and not use, especially if you're Thunder, because your biggest fear is Alios to start with. Chain-wise, friendship, we're only going to care about the people you'll ever see. You can use Raclette, but kind of Glade's better, so I'm guessing that's not going to be hitting anytime soon. Now using Veronica, either frontline or midline, combined with her global Thunder Totem is a very nice combination. So I'm hoping that at least this chain will activate, and since they're both friendship chains, you're good. Rival chains being Leventor. I mean, you're not going to be running 2 strikers, so that pretty much means you got to be facing a Mono Thunder or Rainbow using Leventor, but Rainbow doesn't really use Leventor that much, so basically Mono Thunder Wars. He's going to win faster than you will, so it's a bad deal, but at least you'll have more reflex, because that's what strikers care about. Action speed, affection. Marilyn, 4-star. I mean, she's not bad, but there's no reason you'd be using her normally. So pretty much not the greatest chain, but as always, he is kind of an old player, so you shouldn't be awaiting too much from him. Now for the build, there are different ways to build him. Looking at this, I would say without re-rolling, you'd already start with. I mean, it depends how much crit rate you can throw in there, because you really do want to get the critical damage and not rely too much on the actives. So I would ideally say something like Terradox Blood, Thunder Pass Receive, and Thunder Crit. an Ardor critical damage in a prime slot, or you can do 2 Ardor critical damage. You can do a Gladaris, and you can do a Thunder Pass Receive. That, of course, would be the most powerful build, but again, you need to really work on those subs. So it's really going to be more a question of subs when you're trying to build him. Now, what kind of line are you going to want to run with him? Because I know that is the main question. And also, just while we're at it, should you re-roll him? Now, of course, if you want to re-roll him, the only thing I'm actually going to advise is re-roll one of the Thunder slot to a Wormwind slot and stick in Dragon's Bone. That's just magical. Because I'll give him crit rate and penetration, which is something he lacks. With the 2 Ardor critical damage, plus it gives crit, do Thunder Pass Receive, and you good. But if you don't, it's still not bad. Gladaris is a very decent stone. It's got attack power and penetration too. You lose nothing in that either. Now, comp-wise, who would I really advise him with? It's really going to be up to you. But if you're running a 3-man front, you can usually try a stick, a Vann, Corrupilla as a passer, and Guinevere, just because she's able to seal. She gives him penetration. You put her as ace. That's basically right there, 70% penetration through a single player. Combine that with the Gladaris, and you're right there, 100% penetration. That's just beautiful. And it's not even a player with any penetration in his kit. So that's really how I would advise it. Of course, if you've got an extra slot, throw in a Luca, because we know that Thunder has Askeladd. So you want to combine Luca's line buffs with Corrupilla and just watch that beautiful nuclear pass effect go down. So that's really the kind of line. Again, if you can't throw Luca in, well, it's sad, but she did get nerfed because she was part of the meta a long time ago, so not that big a deal. Pretty much what I want to say here. So again, if you have any questions, comments about him, again, don't await me to be an expert on Thunder. I do not personally run Thunder, and I kind of hate them because I'm mainly light. So yeah, I hope this helps you guys understand, but just be aware that Vann's hard counter will always be an Alios, and he will have trouble killing in the first shots, so you will need survival in the back line. This is why a lot of people who try to run Vann have a 4-man back instead of the 4-man front you most commonly find in Mono Thunder. Have any questions, comment, write them in the description, and I'll be doing the Corrupilla later on. I'm sorry that I kind of planned to do it yesterday, but I ended up getting caught up in some other stuff. Have a good day, guys.